Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. Well, what we have here is just the riots continue to go on into LA, and we also have it to where we have Trump has deployed the Marines this time around, and it is getting pretty crazy over there. So we're gonna keep on updating this on getting you the story that we have currently that's been going on. Sorry for loading you up with the three of these stories and nothing else, but it is pretty crazy story, and this is only taking precedent over other stories that are here. So again, what we have here is Trump may arresting Gavin Newsom because of him allowing the riots to continue. We have Tom Homan over here saying that what's been going on with the riots and how they were doing things, and how majority of the country is pretty much supportive of Trump also going into cities and removing illegal immigrants, and they are arresting illegal immigrants / aliens. So without further ado, here's the clip.
Essentially, your actions here are provocative, and the quote that he used was sowing chaos.
Governor Newsom's an embarrassment for the state. He's the one that's feeding this mantra. He supports sanctuary cities. He supports sanctuary laws. If he cared about public safety in the state of California, he would not have a sanctuary for criminals, where criminals get released to the streets of this state every day because of his policy.
Get your hands off these poor people. They're just trying to live their lives, man. Trying to live their lives, paying their taxes, been here 10 years. The fear, the horror, the hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me, let's just get it over with. Tough guy. I don't give a damn. But I care about my community, I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up, they need to stop, and we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So Tom, arrest me.
Is everyone that has been arrested by ICE agents have a criminal record like those you've described?
Absolutely not. And I said from day one, January 20th, we will prioritize public safety threats and national security threats. However, we will enforce law. I may prioritize my family life over my work. Doesn't mean I ignore my work. We're going to force the immigration law. We've been honest about that from day one, especially in sanctuary cities. Well, we can't get the bad guy in the safety and security of a jail. They release him to the street. Well, we got to go to the street and find him.
Are Democrats out of touch on this issue?
Well, I think if you did the polling in Los Angeles, I'm not sure it would be that way, considering we are a city of immigrants. And then people might approve that policy, but do people really approve the federal government coming in and seizing power from a state and from a city? So I drilled down a little further on that poll, because I do not believe that Americans support the federal intervention in a city takeover or a state takeover.
We have breaking news now from the Pentagon. CNN can now report that roughly 500 Marines are being mobilized in response to the protests in Los Angeles.
And this is a significant escalation from President Trump, who had activated National Guard troops over the weekend without Governor Gavin Newsom's consent. In this new move, active duty military members are being deployed as a show of force against U.S. citizens.
Yeah, so things are not going too great, right? So for the Democrats, because again, you're seeing overwhelmingly of Americans approving of what Trump is doing. So them going out, and Americans see these riots in LA and seeing Democrats out will automatically just endorsing and allowing this to happen and saying they should continue is insane, which you're going to be catching up to that as well. And what we have this here is the Democrats, with CNN, they're not doing too well, because they're seeing this here that majority of America is very much of approval of what Trump is doing in the country, and they're not having a good time on that.
In the aggregate, he is in positive territory at +1 point on his net approval rating. Some other polls even have it a little bit higher than that. There is no issue on which Trump is doing so much better than he was in his first term, more than the issue of immigration. No wonder the Times has written up the way that that he is. Trump is begging for a fight on this because he knows what he's doing so far is working with the American electorate.
Where does immigration rank on issues for him? How is he doing compared to others?
Yeah, so I think what's so important is it is his top issue so far. And the reason it is his top issue is because take a look at the individual nuggets in here. Why are people approving of Trump on immigration, approve of these different immigration actions, while Trump's administration's program to deport those here illegally? Look at this, 54% approval. How about agents searching your hometown for those that they think are here illegally? Again, positive territory here, above 50% for Donald Trump. So it's not just on the broad issue of immigration where Trump is doing well, it's on the specifics. When you dive into the issues, Trump is above 50% and his actions are above 50%, at least with those most directly connected to what's going on right now out in Los Angeles.
So
this is a dooms call report or report for and poll on the Democrats, right? Because if what we're seeing here is the problem that Democrats have is that majority of Americans are supporting this, as you can see this here. And with this being a doomsday poll for the Democrats, this means majority of the Americans are going to be completely fine with Trump going into L.A. and trying to stop the riots that are going in L.A. And then when you have Gavin Newsom, Mayor Bass, and all of these other Democrats going and supporting these type of supporting the riots and saying allowing to protest, this is going to make the American people be like, I don't want to be on the Democrat side. They're supporting terrorists. They're supporting riots. So why would I want to approve that? They're already at a 17% approval rating. Do you Democrats? Do you want to make this 10%? Do you want to make this 9%, where you have where your approval rating is so bad that it's just beyond manageable? Keep doing this. This is not a good look for Democrats.
Donald Trump, the president, picking a fight on this, and to an extent, you see Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, a Democrat, and the California Governor Gavin Newsom pushing back. So what do voters see in terms of their perceptions of Republicans, the president, or Democrats, say Gavin Newsom, on this issue?
Yeah, the American electorate believe that the Democrats don't have a clue on the issue of immigration. I mean, you could just take it here. Closer to trust more in immigration, Democrats versus Republicans. Got 3 different polls for you across the board. They all tell the same story. Republicans lead on the issue of immigration. You see it here, CBS +6. You see it here, CNN +6. You see it here, Ipsos, even bigger, +19. No matter what poll you look at, no matter which way you cut it, the American public is with the Republicans, the American public is with Donald Trump, and to a much greater extent than they were in term number 1. And it's not just on the broad issue of immigration, it's on the specifics as well, in which the American public is with Donald Trump and the Republicans. And that is why Donald Trump is eager to take on this fight and eager for those scenes out of Los Angeles.
I was just going to use that word, eager. This explains some of that eagerness to push forward ever more on this as it escalates. Harriet, and thank you very much.
The group. Yeah, this is not good, right? This is bad for the Democrats, because now we have it where almost every poll, even CNN and CBS, where there's mostly a left-wing journalism and sites, right, and news articles, etc., they all are +6 on the immigration issue. Democrats, you're cooked. You're done. Get out. Because now what we see here is that you're showing that there's no way that you're going to have a win on this. When Americans go and see people with other country flags destroying, setting fire to our American cities and LA, and without foreign flags, what are we doing here? This is a sign that you are not on the right side of history. You're failing here, and Americans are not going to approve of this. They're going to be wholeheartedly against this, as shown here. So that being said, it's just like, what are we doing? What are the Democrats actually doing here that is going on? And again, we have this here more where Democrats are demanding more ICE protests and to continue the riots, etc. I'm not joking. This is what they're doing. Take a look.
Fuck out of LA so that order can be restored.
We are here to say free the immigrants that have been arrested.
The immigrants that have been arrested.
We are here to say end the ICE raids.
End the ICE raids.
I mean, my first message is to keep it peaceful. I mean, obviously, this is a moment where we have to be on the streets all over the country to protest what's happening to our immigrant community, but more broadly to protest what's happening to our democracy. This is the most corrupt administration in the history of the country, and we are going to rise to this moment by being out there on the streets. But ultimately, I think the country sees what Donald Trump is trying to do here. He's looking for a fight. There's nothing in what he is doing that is about peace or about restoring order. He's taking a protest that is relatively isolated. People in Los Angeles over the weekend would tell you that 99% of them went about their day, and it was pretty normal because this is not an invasion that has taken over the entire city. And he's trying to turn a protest that is pretty small into something that involves an even bigger confrontation so that he might actually be able to invoke the Insurrection Act. That would be a defining story of the week if he were to do it. And I just don't think, I think we have to make sure that we understand to not take him at his word. He's looking for a fight. He's not trying to calm tensions.
Yeah, this is crazy. This is crazy, right? You heard that these people are still advocating for more protests against ICE. You heard that. And what's worse here is that these protests won't be protests. They'll be riots just like in LA. So what they're pretty much doing here is that they're putting all ICE agents, all federal agents, mind you, in extreme danger because these protests are no protests. They're riots. That's what they are. So now we have this reality to where Democrats are just outright supporting domestic terrorism and riots, and there's just nothing else to get behind this. That's just the insanity of it all. And now we have Democrats here completely terrified of Trump potentially maybe invoking the Insurrection Act, which, by the way, I full-heartedly agree with this. I would even darn near say treason, because what these Democrats are doing are allowing Americans to be feared by these terrorists and these rioters, and it needs to stop.
Do you think that President Trump should invoke the Insurrection Act?
Well, that is effectively a function of available resources. So when they fully ramp up what they think is the optimum number of National Guardsmen, and if they still aren't quelling the violence, then yes, is the short answer, just as it was done in LA back in 1992. And so that's what that tool is for. And the president has made it clear that unlike his first term, he's willing to use it. I think we all take him seriously on that. He's already moved National Guardsmen in a way he did not during the riots in 2020. I can tell you, if you think of Portland, Oregon, where we had 340 officer injuries in the summer of 2020, 340 officers injured. And Governor Brown there would not bring in the National Guard, and President Trump didn't override it, as he has the authority to do.
I hear you, Ken, but you raised you raised a very serious thing, so I just want to ask you. You said the Insurrection Act, it's really a matter of available resources. I don't know that that's how a lot of people would read it. Are you saying that it's really just a matter of if they don't have enough guard, then they can go ahead and deploy active duty military like these Marines have been readied, and that's okay because of the Insurrection Act?
That's exactly what the Insurrection Act said.
So yeah, it's crazy. It's like they are in fear of invoking the Insurrection Act. And here's the thing with this, guys, is that the Democrats just don't seem to understand that on how dangerous this is, or they're just willfully ignorant. And what we have here is that we have Karen Bass, and then we have also the Governor Newsom pretty much allowing the riots to happen, right? They're pretty much saying, oh, it's all Trump's fault. It's Trump's idea. It's Trump's plan to do this. And he's the one that is causing the riots, and they're not taking accountability. They're pretty much allowing the riots to continue. They're not they don't want the National Guard there. They don't want the Marines there, and they're blaming Trump for everything. And I think it would be completely fine for Trump to arrest the mayor and arrest Gavin Newsom for, obviously, I would even dare say at least an insurrection, if not treason, because he's not protecting his citizens. He's not doing his job. And here's a little footnote. When you are in the place that I am at here, right, I can also fear that it would come into my city and it threatens the people in my household along with the people in my neighborhood because could stop this insanity. So that being said here, we need to do something about this. And I wholeheartedly believe that if things need to get down to the table, if things really have to stop this insanity from happening, I'm all for Tom Homan arresting Mayor Bass and Gavin Newsom if we need to stop these riots from happening, because we have to set a precedent that this is not allowed in our country. Period.
Your intel tell you about these people causing all the problems in LA? Are they people ICE is trying to deport, or are they professional agitators?
The people that are causing the problem are professional agitators. They're insurrectionists. They're bad people. They should be in jail. Thank you.
Mr. President, will you invoke the Insurrection Act?
It's like you queued him up, Priscilla. That word he used, they're insurrectionists. That I can't imagine that was an accident, because it seems as though that is the place that the White House is trying to get. And for the president, it's icing on the cake that he can do it in the state of California, because on a whole host of issues, he has had California, Gavin Newsom in particular, in his sights. The question he was asked was about Newsom daring Tom Homan to come and arrest Newsom. And the president responded, I would do it. And then he said, Gavin wants the publicity.
This is a very serious word that's being thrown around now, insurrection. That's a rebellion of the states or people in the states against the federal government. That is not something to be trifled with. If, for example, to your point, the president were to invoke the Insurrection Act, I think we would have yet another legal morass. It would be another instance of the way that the White House is trying to declare emergencies or insurrections in order to unlock vast powers which most presidents don't have access to. More broadly, the immigration issue, that is the track that we're going down with this administration.
It has been the track.
Yeah, so this is what's going on here. Trump might actually have to do this. Now, the cool thing about this all, guys, is that Trump is finally taking a stand. He's taking a stand compared to what he was doing nothing in 2020. And this was the biggest problem that I had with him and the gripe that I had with him in 2020 when he was not arresting these rioters and these people and potentially even these Democrats. Now, Trump has no chill. He is going full scorched earth on these illegals and these Democrats. I'm all for it, and I love to see it, because finally we need accountability for these Democrats supporting terrorism, supporting insurrection, and allowing our country to be in flames and calling it a peaceful protest. And just because it's Trump. It's insanity here. You'd love to see it. Take a look.
News now from the Pentagon. CNN can now report that roughly 500 Marines are being mobilized in response to the protests in Los Angeles.
And this is a significant escalation from President Trump, who had activated National Guard troops over the weekend without Governor Gavin Newsom's consent. In this new move, active duty military members are being deployed as a show of force against U.S. citizens. CNN's Natasha Bertrand is live for us at the Pentagon. Natasha, what are you learning?
Well, Brianna, this is something that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth had previewed over the weekend. He said that if necessary, he would deploy the Marines to Los Angeles to help federal agents with handling the protests there. And it appears now that these Marines, according to our sources, they have been mobilized. These 500 Marines, a full Marine battalion based out of 29 Palms, California, which is just outside San Bernardino, about an hour away from Los Angeles. They have been mobilized, and they are gearing up to go and help ICE agents as well as other federal officials deal with these protests in Los Angeles. Importantly, they're going to be bolstering as well the National Guard, guardsmen and women who have been activated in Los Angeles by President Trump. But as you said, it is a significant escalation of the president's use of the military as a show of force against these protesters. It's really not clear, the last time Marines were deployed to help essentially with riot control. role, though it's unclear at this point just what their actual tasking will be. Typically, if they are deployed to these situations, it is expected that they will operate in much the same way that the National Guard does, doing things like perimeter security, maybe some crowd control. But the rules of engagement here, we are told, are still being finalized, and Defense Department lawyers are also looking at the kinds of rules of engagement these Marines will have as they encounter protesters possibly on the streets of Los Angeles. But again, this coming at a very, very tense moment with the governor of California suing the Trump administration over, of course, the deployment of the National Guard by President Trump against his will there in California.
So yeah, that's there we have it. I mean, here's the thing, right? With that we have here is that the Democrats have been so long trying to say we're for peace. We like peace. We don't want violence, etc. But they are the ones automatically endorsing violence. They're the ones that are saying that we want to continue more of these protests. We want to continue this fight against federal ICE agents, which would be a huge problem, right? Like, I don't know how we can sit here and allow this type of insanity to keep going on. It just shouldn't be allowed. And now what we have is that I wholeheartedly believe, as I said before, that Trump should invite the Insurrection Act, because it's the only other way we could probably end up doing this to solve this. And then add insult to injury as well to put more salt on the wound for the Democrats, invoke the Aliens Act, Alien Enemies Act. So that way we know that Trump is not messing around, because we do have enemies within our country. You've seen how these people look. They do not look like they're from our country, in particular if they're waving a Mexican flag. It's quite insane. It is what you would consider a foreign invasion. If you go put a foreign flag in another country, you would think this would be an invasion of your own country. Full stop. And that's the problem. And that's the reason why when we have other flags here, we have to be careful, because you could be labeled as an insurrectionist or an enemy because you're wearing a foreign flag as doing this. Now, in context, it's funny if you have a flag or you have it outside or your house or whatever, what have you, and you're just waving it, that's fine. But when you're committing criminal acts and waving a foreign flag, that is a problem. That could be considered an enemy of our country. And again, I would even go and say as far as going to treason with these Democrats. Because as of right now, what we have is that Democrats are citing themselves with people that with foreign flags waving around, destroying and setting fires in our country, and Democrats are siding with these people. You could very easily get away with treason for these Democrats because that's what they're doing. They're siding with people that are waving foreign flags in our country and destroying LA. I'm not even a fan of LA. I hate the city. But the point being is, it doesn't mean I should want the city destroyed by these animals, by these terrorists, by these rioters. It should not happen. And I'm hoping Trump does enact both of these things and label these and arrest not only Gavin Newsom, but Karen Bass as well for treason and insurrection, because it needs to happen. These Democrats need to be held accountable. We cannot allow this to continue to go on. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Like, share. As always, take care, my friend.